Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa and I own a small crochet business called Alyssa Stitches. So I have been super behind on videos, if you haven't noticed. I had a bunch of markets back to back and I just had like little to no time to even like prep for them. So as far as like picking up the camera and filming and then editing and stuff, I just didn't have time for it. But now I have a little bit of a break in between weeks, so I wanted to go ahead and film as much as I can because I actually have 2 weeks worth of market results, and I also have a haul video that I wanted to do. So this video is actually going to be my market results for the weekend of May 30th and the 31st. So the markets for this weekend are my two main markets that I do. It is the one at Crenshaw and the one in Seabrook, and they are on Saturday and Sunday, but the Crenshaw one actually just switched to Fridays this past weekend on the 5th. So this one that I'm about to tell you about from the results are still from a daytime. They were both daytime. But it's going to be from that one, and then my next video will be the one where it was a nighttime market. Something that I did new at this market was I had a little clearance bin, and this is just stuff that I either had in the past that I don't really like the way it was made, but I just don't have the room for it to just sit in my office. And so my husband was like, we should just do that and bring them and just see if they sell. And the clearance bin has done really well, actually. And these are also things that I've just had for a really long time and they just don't sell very well. And I want to make room for newer items. I'm kind of tired of lugging around the exact same items over and over. So I just wanted to see how they would do in a clearance bin and just knock off a few dollars from them, or maybe a little more than a few dollars. And the clearance bin has been doing really well because I'd rather make a sell than have the items just continue to sit and, like I said, just lug them around from market to market. I feel like it doesn't become as valuable anymore if it's just there for so long, if that makes sense. For the market that we had on the 30th of May, these are the results. We sold a loaf cat that was on clearance for $12. I sold my little Snoopy. It was on clearance because I made the body and the head, and then a few days later I made the legs and the arms. And I looked at this yarn over and over, and then when I got it out in the sunlight, I realized they were two different colors. So the body and head did not match the arms and the legs. So I went ahead and put the Snoopy on clearance, and it did sell for $10. I also had some old little mini possums, and I actually used to use burlap blanket for them, but I ended up switching to Sweet Snuggles Light, and I also started using bigger eyes. I used to use like very small eyes for them, I don't know why. So I went ahead and put those in the clearance. I had about like 2 or 3 of them, and that one did sell. We also sold a pickle. This adorable teenager bought my Sleepy Dragon. She was literally obsessed with it, and it makes me so happy. People love those Sleepy Dragons. They're so cute. And then her brother actually bought my blue snake. I sold 2 of my squish balls, and then I'm pretty sure I have shown it before, but my hanging plants, and then I went ahead and made like my own pattern off that pattern to make like a mini version, and I sold one of those. I'm pretty sure it was the one with like the blue flowers on it. I also sold one of my large pink jellyfishes, which I was very excited about. We ended up selling 3 bookmarks, and then I made all these little triceratops, but I did them in a like posh yarn, so it was really tight and they came out just so wonky. So I actually made 4 of them in total, and I never put them out. I literally just like kept them in my room. But we put both of them in there, and yeah, one of them sold. A little girl came up and bought 2 of my mermaids, and she was so excited about the mermaids. She was literally obsessed, and I could see her going throughout the market, and she was showing every single vendor her mermaid, specifically the one that looks like Ariel. She was like literally like showing it to every single vendor, so that made me really happy. And yeah, she was just so excited about her mermaids. I also sold a spider hanger, I sold my gray rat, and then I sold one of my regular mini possums, and then I sold both of my sloth hangers, which I just love those, and I'm so glad people love them too. They're very cute and they can hang, so I think that's just like another level that people really enjoy about it. And then I sold one duck and a frog hat. So now we're gonna do the market from the 31st. And this day was so busy. Like, this market does get some traction, but this day it was like busy from like, I think even like 15 to 20 minutes before we even like officially opened. But it stayed so consistent and super busy. Like, every time I looked around, I was just like, oh my god, there's so many people here, like what is going on? So we sold a lot of stuff this day. I sold out of multiple items, so that made me really happy, and I can't wait to come back to this market because, like I said, it's one of my main ones and I really enjoy this market so much. I love the location, I love the people that run it. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the results. So the very first one was one of my little duck and frog hats, and I actually traded with another vendor because she makes pudding, and it is like a cookie pudding, like the Biscoff kind. It is amazing. Like, I went to taste it, and I have a cooler that I bring, so I was just gonna have a bite and then put it in the cooler and save it for later. Girl, I ate the whole thing in one sitting. I like didn't even care. I was literally like pounding it down. It was so good. I also finally sold a watermelon keychain, which, if you know, you know. I've had those watermelon keychains from my very first market, like the day before Valentine's Day, because I really wanted to have smaller items, and it was my very first market ever, so I did not really know what to bring, and I really did want some keychain options. So I was like, let me make watermelons because those are really popular, and I've had them ever since. Literally no one ever gets a watermelon keychain, so someone finally got one, and I was like, yes. Like, I was so excited about that, them getting a keychain. I also sold out of my cherry keychains, and I had 3 of those, so that made me really happy. I had one girl buy the watermelon keychain and a cherry keychain, and then literally right after, another girl came up and bought 2 cherry keychains. I've also had these items for a long time, and I'm kind of shocked because they're personally one of my favorite dragon patterns because they're very easy to make. They're a decent size. Like, you can very much make them large or smaller just depending on what yarn and hook size you use. But it is the dragon by Crochet by Jenna, the laying dragon, and I've had 2 of those for so long, and I just don't know why they never sell. Maybe it's just like the colors that I picked or something, but I finally sold the like mint with the like variegated yarn wings, and it went to a little girl, and she was so excited, and yeah, I was so happy about that. I was just like, take that dragon. I also sold one of my mini leggy froggies. I was really excited about that because I'm trying to get rid of those because I want to focus on a different frog pattern, and I just want to like, yeah, make room for things. I also sold my last clearance possum, so glad to see those go. I think I mentioned in my past video that I'm moving on from pocket octos and moving them to small octos. It is the exact same pattern, except I'm not using Posh yarn, I'm using Sweet Snuggles Light, and it just makes them just the tiniest bit bigger. Well, they're just like a more substantial size, but I did raise them $2 and they still do really well, and I sold 5 of them at this market. I also sold one of my regular possums. I sold 3 duck and frog hats. I also sold one of my little weenie dogs. I actually love this pattern. It works up very quick, and I just think the payoff is so adorable, and it's just such a cute little size, so I absolutely love that. And for that pattern, I used the baby bear. I'm not sure which color. If I figure that out, I'll put it on the screen. I sold 2 of my capybaras. I also had these little bee hangers that I've also had from the Valentine's market, and I sold one of those. I also had these little medium octos that I also had in the clearance bin, and we sold one of those. I also sold 2 pickles, 2 bookmarks. I also sold one of my mini whales. I'm really trying to get rid of those too. I've had them for so long. I also sold one of my chick hangers, which I really think that they should do way better than they really do. I've had 3 of them since probably one of my first markets, and I think I only have 1 left now. But it's kind of shocking because they're very cute in my opinion. I also sold a chicken from the same person that bought the chick hanger, so I thought that was very cute. I finally sold my little brown bunny that I've had like since Easter. I sold both my little pocket frog. I sold my large duck in a frog hat, my little chunky one. I also brought a little bee that I made out of the like Sweet Snuggles Light pink variegated yarn, and someone also bought that. I stuck that in the clearance bin and they got that. Someone also bought one of my roses, and I actually brought those a lot and then I started bringing them back again, and I've had several people buy them so far, so I'm glad, and I kind of want to keep making them because I stopped bringing them because I didn't really have anywhere to put them. I had them in a bowl, or so I can't even remember how I originally had them, and then I brought a different like container to put them in, and they kept like falling out like off the side. So then I think that just annoyed me, and I was just like, I'm not bringing these back. But then my husband was like, you should just bring them and see how they do. So we just like kind of like lay them out on the table, and that does the trick. It's like not that big of a deal. I also sold 2 loaf kittens. One was like a white and black, and one was a white and gray. I sold the other little clearance triceratops this day. And then the sweetest girl, she was like a teenager, she bought my shelf goose, and I thought that was so sweet because those are a little pricier, but they're just so cute, and I really appreciated that she spent her own money on it. And that just warms my heart a lot, not only when people buy from me, but a lot of kids and teenagers like clearly have like an allowance or something, and that just warms my heart so much that they want to spend their money on my items. Like that just makes me so happy. And the last item we sold was a chick in a bucket hat. So in total for both days we did $695, which is awesome because if you've been following along, my last few markets for the past like 2 months have not been great at all, and I was getting a little concerned because you know, the vendor fees and everything kind of adds up as far as that, and then just like time spent there too. Like one of the markets that I did that was at like the outlets, like that really was horrible to spend 6 hours somewhere that's like a little further away from me, and we barely made like $100 that day. So yeah, every market has been about like that, and yeah, it's just not fun when you're having to like sit out in the heat. I'm in Texas, so it's crazy hot, and we haven't even fully reached like full summer yet, and to sit out there and like not make that much, it's just painful. So those are the results of my markets. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe down below, and also leave me a comment of any videos that you want to see in the future. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!